Hello, hello. Okay, big things coming to the network. Welcome to Saturday, beautiful Saturday night, corn fed. Um, we're live. So thank y'all for showing up. I appreciate it. I didn't have anything scheduled, and so that's cool that you heard the bell ring and filed in. So I appreciate that. Uh, I guess that was I think that's math rock is what that was. You could hear the equations, differentials, and quadratics. I don't. I never knew what that term. I never knew. I never figured out what that term means. I still don't know. I don't know what they mean when they say math rock. Uh, I don't. Is it? I mean, what is it? Are they like? Are they doing? Are they like doing math? Is it that the music is somehow also like? Can you put that in a TI calculator? Like, or is that? I don't know. I still don't know what it means. I think isn't all music kind of math with the music theory? You have like circle of fifths, and I don't know. Yeah, it's just one of those. I'm a simple man, and it's like the way I think of. I just say, oh yeah, it's rock and roll. It's just anything with I guess loud drums and distorted guitars, or like guitars plugged into amps. I don't know. I'm not a I'm not a fucking I'm not a Fantano. But it does say here on Wikipedia that because that was I mean it's a band I like called Don Caballero. Or I guess if it's the Spanish pronunciation, if I understand the double L how that's pronounced Caballero, but then again, like the word yellow in Spanish is amarillo, but then the city in Texas that I was just in is Amarillo. So I guess sometimes the pronunciation can vary depending on how white you are. So I guess I would hazard a guess that this is pronounced Don Caballero. It says here they're from Pittsburgh, and not a one of them looks Mexican. But it does say on Wikipedia that it says Don Caballero was, so they ain't together no more. An American math rock band from Pittsburgh, so they be playing on their TI calculators, making music, spelling the word boobs on the calculator. Uh, which I get like if real, I mean honestly, if you have a TI calculator, like one of them, like the fancy ones that they you start using when you take like algebra and calculus in school, TI-89. Those actually you that just has a full keyboard on it, so it's really nothing special to spell boobs on one of those. It's just like the regular simple calculators that it's because you're limited. It's like you have to work within the confines of the numbers that you type in 80085 and it looks like boobs, and that's funny. That's what makes it valuable and enjoyable is because there's you know the scarcity and the structure of it. Whereas if you just have a calculator that has a full keyboard, you could type in boobs, you could type in shit, piss, fuck, whatever you want to type, and then it kind of loses its specialness because you can just type like whatever you want. Which we also did. I mean, when I was in high school, once we got TI calculators, we were just like typing cuss words in them, like, oh shit, we just leveled up. No more are we relegated to just boobs and boobies, because you could also do boobies on a calc. You could do 8008135. That's boobies. And so no more, or do we only have boobs and boobies? We could type in all the cuss words that we want with now that we're in algebra. And so that's what math rock is. Is just that, but with guitars, I think. Hey folks, let's get $2 from Nathan Salgado 4325. Let's keep the super chats coming. Yeah, that's a good idea. And then Joe Triple D 523, thank you for gifting 5 cornfed memberships. Yeah, keep the super chats coming. You could do jewels now, whatever that is, as a new one. You could do memberships. You could buy merchandise. There's new merchandise. So Lily hit me up today and said that she got a good deal on stickers and made some new stickers for the website. So I'll go ahead and show those to y'all. These are pretty cool. So if you take a look here, we got these right here. That's pretty fun. It's all, little Kingdom Hearts themed sticker, and then Final Fantasy X, Final Fantasy 7 inspired. It's a whole sticker pack, $7, because everybody knows that. I gotta see if I can get my soundboard to actually everybody know, hey, I'm the golden chocobo. Yeah, it's me. I'm also Dolphin Pruitt. Anyway, well, hey folks, welcome to the Billionaire Podcast Network. So yeah, anyway, so you can get that sticker pack for $7 right there. And then there's also this sticker that's a self-portrait of Lily herself, holding a gun. So that's pretty cool. And that's $3 on the website. So there's some new items. And then, we got the, rest in peace, Dave sticker. He's gone. I love this. This is so fun. This is cute. I got a couple of these myself. The little Louis Anderson inspired Mies. A lot of great. Oh, the Pandatron stickers are back in stock. So if anybody wants to buy some of them, and maybe I could just spend the whole time tonight just plugging merchandise. How about that? No, we got a lot of cool stuff. So that's at bpnmart.com. And then I guess while I'm doing advertisements, you can also subscribe to the Patreon, which is patreon.com/cornfed with Dalton Pruitt. But hey, big things coming to the network. I didn't realize shit. I didn't really have anything planned for tonight or a schedule or nothing. It's just that. So I woke up today. Last night I was scrolling HBO Max, right? And so last night I saw on HBO Max they got the new Mortal Kombat movie, Mortal Kombat 2. And I started watching it around 1 a.m., So I say last night, but I guess it was technically this morning. Well, so I started watching this Mortal Kombat movie, Mortal Kombat 2 on HBO Max, and I got like 20 minutes into it, and then I got too sleepy, and I said I'll finish this tomorrow. So I turned it off, and then I woke up today at like 10 a.m. and I said, I woke up, I rubbed the crusties out of my eyes. I took a piss, which would be like the 10th one I've taken since I went to bed. I be pissing a lot during the night. Like when I go beddy by, I don't sleep all the way through the night. I'm just up and back and forth from the bathroom like 8 or 9 times a night peeing. And some have said that that's like a symptom of diabetes. I'm probably dying, but it's also, I wonder, because my pee is clear. It's crystal clear, so there's nothing in the urine itself that would indicate any sort of problems or malfunctions. Because I was always told that if your pee is yellow and then orange and like any darker colors, that that's worrisome. But then if you have good clear pee, then that's fine. You're fine. So I base all of my health on like what color my pee is at any given time. That's like my only real indicator. And so whenever I'm peeing, I go, well, it's still clear, so that's fine. So I just think that like throughout the day, I'm drinking a ton of water and Gatorade and Coke Zero and Mountain Dew Zero. I'm consuming a lot of fluids, a lot of liquids, making sure I'm staying hydrated, and so, but so even like when it gets to be wind down hours, I'm still drinking too much fluids. That when I go to bed, I got a bladder full of liquid. Because don't they say you're like supposed to stop drinking stuff like sometime before you go to bed each night, like so that this doesn't happen. But I just like I go to bed with a Coke Zero in my because I got this Stanley mug, right, that's always full of Coke Zero. So I just take this into my bedroom with me and I be sipping on it like right before I go to bed. And then just all through the night I'm waking up and having to go piss. And then I just never feel well rested. And so come 10 a.m. this morning, I wake up and I go take another piss, which is probably the 10th one since I went to bed. And I rub the crusties out of my eyes. And I say, well, I'm awake now. And so it's time to go finish watching that Mortal Kombat movie. I put on my slippers and so I went but then before I sat down to watch the movie, I said, well, I'm hungry. It's breakfast time. So, what do naturally I fixed myself a big bowl of queso. There was some I melted down a big block of Velveeta the other day with some 8515 hamburger meat and mild sausage. I use mild sausage, but then the hot rotel, so that way it's spicy, but the spiciness does not come from the sausage. Because if because I think it might be better that way to just use the habanero rotel with mild sausage rather than the hot sausage. I don't know. I could try different combinations of it to see which one's the best. But so this one though, Velveeta, mild sausage. I believe the brand was Old Purnell sausage. It wasn't cheap. It was like a $6 tube of sausage. Yeah, 8515 hamburger meat, real lean stuff, and then the habanero rotel, right? And so this 10 a.m. this morning, I fixed me a big old bowl of it because I still have so much of it. A block of Velveeta gets you a lot of queso, more than you're going to be able to eat, the night you make it. So you got to, store it in the fridge for leftovers later. And so I made a big bowl, put it in the microwave for 2 minutes. It still wasn't hot enough, still kind of cold. It was hot on top, but then down toward the center of the bowl of queso, it was still kind of cold. So then I had to microwave it another minute. And then I got these butter tortillas from this is I don't want to dox myself, but this is gonna give away some information. HEB makes these really awesome, delicious butter tortillas, and so I bought some like like over a week ago. So I had to before they I didn't want to go bad, right? I got the HEB butter tortillas, and so they was in the. I put them in the freezer. They was frozen by this point because they're like freshly made tortillas that you can get at HEB. These ain't no Mission brand tortillas with all the preservatives. The HEB makes like homemade fresh butter tortillas that are really tasty. It's like one of my favorite things you can get at the Howard Edward Butts grocery store. I think that's his name. I don't know if y'all know this, but for those who don't know about HEB, there's a few people here who probably do know about they know who know the gospel, right? That is HEB. It's a guy's name, and I think his name is like either I know his name is Butts. I know the B is Butts, and because it's funny. It's funny that that's what the B stands for, and I think it's like either Howard Edward Butts or Howard Eugene Butts. That's what HEB is, and so they got them stores all over. Actually it used to be that HEB was only like the actual HEBs were only located in like Austin and San Antonio and certain cities. And then when I was growing up, like we didn't have one in Fort Worth when I was growing up, but there was like a highfalutin spinoff store, like some sort of a fancy store called Central Market by HEB. So like that's what the sign would say outside was Central Market by HEB. So it was like an HEB spinoff, or I don't know what you would call like a place that's owned by another place that's like the elevated version of it. But it's the the fancy version of HEB where everything is more expensive. And that's what we had when I was growing forward. But now HEB is expanding, so they have more of them throughout the state of Texas. But I live in parts unknown, so don't even try to figure out where I am. Just know that I was at an HEB recently, and I got these butter tortillas. But because they're made fresh in the store, you only have like a couple 3 days to eat them before they go bad. So I didn't want these delicious butter tortillas to go bad before I got a chance to eat them. So I just I put them in the freezer. And then to this morning, I'm heating up my queso. I got the rest of Mortal Kombat 2 queued up on HBO Max. And then but now, I got obviously I got tortilla chips, but I also like to have some tortillas on deck when I be eating my Velveeta Rotel meat queso. And so I got four of these tortillas out the freezer and got them going in the air fryer, and I hit them on each side a few minutes, and then so I set up my TV tray. Queso's finally hot enough. Got my tortillas. Got my tortilla chips, which is not my favorite brand, but the brand I have currently is the On the Border tortilla. I don't like those. My favorite brand is probably like what is it? It's the one with the lady on the bag. Well, there's the one that's in the paper bag is good. What is it? Wachita, Washetal, Don Cheadle. Those are good. The missions are good. Saint, I usually buy Saint. What is it called? Santitas. I don't know. But anyway, the tortilla chips I currently have is the On the Border ones, which is not what I usually get. But they'll work. They'll suffice. And so I sit there, I sat down, and I started the movie from where I left off, and I get my butter tortillas are now nice and warm, a little crispy, but not too. I didn't turn them into tostadas or nothing. They still got some flex to them, which is how I like it. So I'm, and it was just, I guess what I'm getting at. First off, the movie is a big piece of shit, and I loved every second of it. It was not a good movie. I would say so. I still when I was a kid, I watched it many times. I always enjoyed the 1995 Paul W.S. Anderson Mortal Kombat movie, the one with Robin Shue and Christopher Lambert and the lady that was also in Billy Madison. Um, so I always liked that movie. And then there was a sequel. I don't know if y'all remember. There was a sequel to that movie that was a big turd called Mortal Kombat Annihilation, and that movie sucks. Now, as a kid, I watched both of those movies many, many times, but I didn't know watch with I was watching with a child's eyes, so I didn't realize that Mortal Kombat Annihilation sucks. As a kid, I just thought it was a lot of colors and fire and people punching and kicking, and so for me it was awesome. Revisiting them as an adult, I was like, okay, I still like the 1995 one. I like the first one. It's corny, cheesy. It's not like by any metric a good movie, but it's good. It's a good movie. It's it's fun. Mortal Kombat Annihilation fucking sucks. And then this new run of Mortal Kombat movies, they got the one they did in 2021, which I mean, it was during the pandemic, but I was pleasantly surprised by it because when I watched it, I said, this is not totally unwatchable. I was like, I actually kind of enjoy this. And they introduced a new character just for the movie, but they made it make sense. And it was like a somewhat dynamic, fleshed out character that's like one of the descendants of Scorpion or something. And so that's why he's involved in this. But it's like he's also like like an amateur MMA fighter or something. Um, and so I thought that movie was pretty fun. And my gripe with that one though was that first the 2021 Mortal Kombat was it's called Mortal Kombat. There was no tournament in the movie. It was all just like Shang Tsung's trickery and them having to fight each other, not in a tournament. You know, because of the you know whatever Shang Tsung was trying to pull that they end up all having, but there's no actual tournament. So so the second movie there is a tournament. It's all of the actual Mortal Kombat tournament that they just keep referencing in the first movie. And so, but remember, it's not a good movie. And it doesn't. It didn't seem like any of the actors in it wanted to be in the movie. They're all delivering these very muted, um, just like it seemed like apathetic performances. It seemed like lifeless, just reading their lines, and then some stuntman or whatever steps in to do all the punching and kicking. And I guess some of the fights were cool. I don't know. It was just like in on the scale of bad movies, I did enjoy it, and I hope they make a third one. But while I was watching it, finishing watching it this morning, I ate through a big bowl of this queso with tortillas and then also tortilla chips, and it was just so much cheese and carbs that it hit me like a ton of bricks. I had just woken up like an hour and a half ago. I finished watching the movie, my queso's done, and now I'm like I can't keep my eyes open because of how much Velveeta and hamburger meat, sausage, chips, and tortillas I just ate. And so and then I was like, man, I'm gonna lay back down for like another 30 minutes. So I laid down, and then I woke up like 6 hours later. So I didn't actually get up for the day until like 5 o'clock. I was really upset by that. Like when I did finally wake back up, I looked at my phone and I go, "Shit, man, that's the whole day is gone." Um, and then, but then I said to myself, I said, "Self, it is Saturday, and so I have like the routine has been for some time now the a Saturday night corn fed." And so I reckon, now that it's a bold new era for the show, since that Dave abruptly quit, that I should get in there and do something. Even though I didn't really have anything scheduled, and I got like this big, compacted, impacted brick of cheese in my belly. I say, you know what, I can't let this impede me from doing what I'm meant to do on this earth, which is live streaming. So, but that's all to say. I didn't, this, there was nothing scheduled or anything planned, and I come into this honestly with no clue what I'm going to do or what's going to happen. But I did take years ago. I took 2 levels of improv at a place called the Dallas Comedy House. The first level I did. I I'm trying to remember how I want. So one of the levels, the because the place offered a thing where you could intern, and that would pay for your improv class. So if you came in there and were willing to do chores for a few hours, then you could take an improv class. And there were a lot of people there who did that for all 5 levels. That they just basically worked there for free to so they could take improv classes. And then it seems like what they got out of it was they met their husband or wife, got married, and then stopped doing improv. Which good for them, man. I mean, that I'm glad that worked out for them, and that seems like a great way to, you know, find love in this world and live a happy life. I mean, that was like there's so many people that went through that place that's how they met each other, was through improv. But then once they got married, they said, well, we there's really no reason for us to keep doing this. I think we got what we're going to get out of it, because there's no fucking career in long form improv. It can be, I guess, it could be a stepping stone to something else. Maybe like you get good at improv, and then you can write like bad sketches that you perform with your roommates when you move to a bigger city. But it's not like there's necessarily anybody that is like making a living really doing improv. I guess maybe like the Sonic guys, or at least one of those guys. Because the Sonic, what's funny about the Sonic guys is that, so like when you're at an improv place, right? Like one of these improv theaters, like the place I went to, Dallas Comedy House, the hallowed halls of an improv theater. They talk about like who are the big improv guys, like who are the professional inspirational improv performers that are actually working or are noteworthy, right? And it's like one of the big ones is a duo called TJ and Dave. So like there's only like a handful of people that I think are working professionally as improvisers. Like this, whatever long form improv is, and one of the like more prominent acts is this duo called TJ and Dave. And there's a version of them that you've seen on TV if you've seen a Sonic commercial within the last like 20 years, where it's the two guys sitting in the car riffing on what they just ordered at Sonic. But only one of the guys is TJ. The other guy in the commercial is a guy who just kind of looks like Dave, because Dave is such a like purist that he didn't want to do the commercials. So like I guess when they were offered this role to be the faces of Sonic Drive-In, TJ was like, "Yes, I would like to actually make money." But then Dave was like, "No, it's a perversion of the art form I love so much, improv. I'm not going to do it." I don't know if that's what but what I'm getting at though is that when it comes to the sacred art form of improv, what anyone has seen that would be like successful improvisers would be I suppose whose line is it anyway, but that's short form, and then also the Sonic commercials and so that's kind of like the only people that have eked out a career as doing improv, right? And then everybody else that does it is doing it just so they can meet people to have sex with. It was pretty cool. That's a valid reason to do it, and that's kind of why I did it. But that didn't materialize for me because I just honestly, the thing about it is like all the people that are doing it for that, they also still really enjoy it and believe in it and like apply themselves to it, and I just couldn't. I did it for one level, and I didn't get no pussy, and I said, you know what, take a mulligan on that one. I'm not going to intern again, but I'll go ahead and pay for level two, and maybe I'll get some pussy this time. But I guess they could tell that my intentions were impure, that I was only there to try and meet some quirked up shorties. And so that also just didn't pan out. But I did learn how to talk out of my ass for a length of time in a desperate attempt to try and say something funny, even though they tell you that's not even the goal of improv. They go on about like you're not even supposed to try and like tell jokes or be funny. It's all about just like I don't know, being in the moment and spiritually connecting with your scene partners or what. I don't know. It's all a thing where like this better be getting somebody some pussy is was always my perspective. I was like, if people are doing this and nobody is getting pussy from it, then this is ridiculous. And so, come to find out, I was kind of like just one of the only people who wasn't actually getting laid from it. But everybody else there, I mean, they was, from what I heard, it was a suck and fuck fest at that place. But a lot of yeah, but then a lot of those people ended up like dating and then marrying each other. And then at that point, they just stopped doing. They realized there's no reason to keep doing improv. So that's good for them, man. It was hard to find love and happiness in this life. So wherever you can get it, if it's at an improv theater or a bookstore, teachers is schools is a big one. Not like dating an actual high schooler, but when I was in high school, there was a lot of teachers that and coaches and principals and whatever. They all were like there was a lot of like dating each other that was going on among at least amongst like the younger the 20 something teachers. The old biddies were either had been married for years or were widows or had never gotten married and were just like sad and lonely. um but so sorry, I was checking this. Somebody, I thought that was important. What just popped up on my phone. So that's all to say that I don't really have anything to talk about. What does this say? $5 from C4 Kleber. HEB sells butter tortilla candles. What is a butter tortilla? It's a tortilla with butter on it. I don't know. It's a bag. It's a bag that's tied up that's got 10 tortillas in it, and imprinted on the bag are the words butter tortillas. And when you eat one, you go, I'll be damn, I can taste the butter. So that's what it is. um and they're really tasty. And they got these other ones there. I never had anything like this before. It was crazy. They got these tortillas there that's part flour, part corn. So I've had many flour tortillas in my life, and I've had many corn tortillas, but this was a fusion of the two. This was a flour and corn tortilla combined, and it's awesome. It was really good. It tasted like I don't know if any, I'm from the South, so I don't know how many people that tune into this have ever had this, but my mom and grandma and a lot of family and places I've been to will make this like version of cornbread that's like pan stovetop, like skillet fried cornbread. So like rather than mixing up your cornbread mixture and putting it in a pan and baking it in the oven, they'll get the cornbread mix going and pour it into a skillet and then cook it on the stove top, similar to like pancakes, but it's cornbread. So it's like a pan fried cornbread. And it was always my favorite version of cornbread. I always, anytime my mom or grandma make it, I'd be like, "Oh, this is the good stuff." And so these flour corn tortillas they got at the HEB taste very similar to that kind of cornbread that my mom and grandma always make. The skillet stovetop cornbread. Um, a lot of people have had, like just the main cornbread that's out there, the one that's baked in the oven that puffs up with it's got like a cake like consistency, but it's still really dense because it's corn. But the one I much prefer is the one that's fried up on the stovetop in a skillet. It's thin like a pancake. It's thinner like a pan. It's still fluffy. It's like a pancake, but it's cornbread. It's really good. And so if you ever find yourself in the South or deep South, see if you can find it. You can make it yourself. I mean, you probably could find a sorry, I got a belly full of I've been drinking a Mountain Dew also. I got these Mountain Dew Baja Blasts. You could probably find like a Paula Deen recipe for what I'm talking about. Oh, did y'all see? Man, that really took me back online. The world we grew up in no longer exists. All the Emerald Lagasse posting that's been happening on Twitter. Like somebody posted something where they were like, "Yeah, I'm like going back and watching some old Emerald clips from his show from back in the day, and like this shit's awesome." And then for like the last few days, there's just been a bunch of people posting different clips from the old live Emerald show. I don't know if y'all remember that. It was the show where he would cook shit in front of a studio audience, and then you watch it at home on the Food Network. Um, and so that seeing all that really took me back to like when I was a kid. My my mommy she loved the Food Network back then. It's mostly pretty unwatchable nowadays. Ever since the Guy Fierification of television, of food related television, but back then it was a treasure trove of shows where people cook stuff. You had Emerald, you had Alton Brown, Bobby Flay, Malto Mario, who was one of the casualties of the cancel years. I think he did actually like just rape somebody. But prior to that, before we found out that he raped someone, he had a really good show on the Food Network called it was Mario Batali. It was a show called Malto Mario. And that was a good one. You had what else was the Barefoot Contessa, one of the early like cooking game shows, like the all the like reality kind of cooking game shows now are fucking terrible. I can't watch any of that shit. One of the early ones though that was on Food Network was Japanese, and it was called The Iron Chef, and that shit was awesome. It was just a bunch of Japanese people, and they had to like do like karate to cook they had to do like karate cooking, which is pretty much what it was, because they were given like specific ingredients, and they had like a limited amount of time to prepare whatever dishes they were going to make, and it was electric. That shit was awesome. But then we didn't know it at the time that there was something happened that portended the devastation of food TV, which was a spin-off show called Iron Chef America, and we didn't realize that that was a harbinger of that the TV's about to get to suck. But the original Iron Chef was awesome, and so just seeing all these people posting all these Emerald clips online, and watching them again, that just took me back to. I mean, it's nostalgia. It's the same. This is something people have been experiencing forever. That the past feels better than the current moment. But what was it? I don't know. I mean, when I think back to that time, I was a kid, so it was pretty cool being a kid. I didn't have to worry about nothing. My parents did all the worrying, and I was blissfully unaware of everything, just being like, "Bam, kick it up a notch." Um, we got $5 from Kenny Trebet. Didn't Emerald get fired for enjoying Peruvian marching powder on live microphone instead of flour? Mariska Hargitay. I think I remember something like that. I mean, he was definitely like really high energy on that show, very frantic and kinetic. He was probably keyed up on something and might have, that was back in the '90s and early 2000s was still very, especially like right in the wake of 9/11, like 2002 through, I guess, until Obama got elected. That was a very like Christian conservative time in America. So they were, the public and the machine then was not as forgiving about that kind of about drugs and all that kind of thing. I suppose, I don't know. I mean, fuck it. But then like Anthony Bourdain's whole deal was that like he was a heroin addict. I mean, by the time Bourdain was on TV, he had seemingly kicked heroin, but his whole like what got him his rise to prominence was that he was like, yeah, I used to do a bunch of heroin, but I don't anymore, and I like to cook. Buy my book, please. Um, Oh, Bourdain. Yeah, Bourdain did hate Emerald. Bourdain was a salty. He was an old sourpuss. He was all like such a snob about everything. When like which I is fine, I suppose. But I mean, the Emerald Show was fun. It was awesome, and but then again, I don't know. It's just it's the trap of like looking into the past and thinking, you can't. There is no past. It's only memories. It's abstract. You know what I mean? Like the only thing that is like is, is what's happening now, and this is the church thereof. Um. So. Oh yeah. So anyway, but this wasn't planned or nothing. I just kind of like spontaneously, very impromptu, said I got to do something, and then like right as I was going live, I didn't realize this, but I saw on YouTube right as I was about to go live that it looks like Crack is also streaming right now. So there's a big market share that I don't have access to currently because I would imagine that a lot of people would rather go watch his show, which is fine. I'll take the audience that I have and care for them and do something for the people that do. These are the real ones that are here, that are here. um, yeah, I mean, I wish, yeah, I do. I mean, all the best to Craig. I wish him well in his future endeavors. He is dead to me, and it's war. But I do hope he succeeds. Um, you know, that's all in the past. It's fine. I didn't like the way things ended with the partnership that I had with him, but it was a it was such a short lived thing. Like it wasn't like there was a lot terribly invested in what we were doing together, and he bounced before we were all in too deep together. Um, and from the numbers I've seen, he probably made the right decision. So good for him. Uh, but it's also just like I whenever you're trying to work with people, there's just different goals and values and objectives, and so it is he probably has like some other vision for what he wants out of creating stuff that just runs counter to what I want to do and what Robbie wants and all of us here at the network. So assalamu alaikum. Damn near killed him. But he is streaming right now, so it is like I guess I am competing with whatever audience I have that I share with him that wants to go watch his show. That's what I'm competing. But I got some loyal supporters here, which is pretty cool. And I care about y'all, and I'm doing something for y'all. um Oh, is he married? Is he married now? That's interesting. Well, all the I guess that's cool. Be nice. It would be cool to be in love. Um. So, what do y'all? Oh, I took a. This is I'm still adjusting to the whole new world and I've done. Here's the thing: just talking out loud by yourself feels psychotic. It feels really crazy, and it is you know it feels stilted. It's not natural, you know. And I've done it before, and every time it was like it's difficult to like just start talking when I don't have anyone to like talk to. When it's just me like this. It's hard to just like have a conversation by yourself with yourself and then get into any sort of flow state. I need someone here to interrupt what I'm saying to tell a story that I don't pay attention to. But 200 joules flow size. Oh, it's joules now. So before it was gems, now it's joules. That's cool. Flow state. Anyway, yeah, I've done the solo thing before, and I guess it is like that's what there's some fucking prick who keeps like haranguing me online about doing some shit, just like doing something every day, like one of the because like there's a lot of these streamers out there that just be like streaming solo every day for like hours and hours a day, and I just can't imagine like what is they from the clips I've seen, they don't seem particularly insightful or smart or even like capable with the English language. Like, they seem really stupid, but they're massively successful. Like that guy Asmongold, but I can't imagine like what could he possibly be saying or talking about it was extemporaneously for fucking like 8 hours at a stretch. I guess he's like maybe it's similar to what I do here where it's I'm looking at the chat and then kind of responding to some of the things going on in the chat, but then just as a thought flitters through my mind, I'll talk about that. but it's like, I'm really talented, and I be having cool, deep thoughts, and I've read books before, so I feel like I'm more qualified to just start talking out of my ass extemporaneously. But whereas, I look at one of these guys like what's another one? XQC, who is just kind of braying like a donkey, like a jackass, not even like saying words or nothing. It's just and hours and hours a day of this shit, and they're making like $1 million a month doing it. So I look, and there is there's this guy who is like a supporter of everything I do here that we do here at the network. I guess you could say he's a fan, but he's also very rude and impetuous in the way he tries to interact with me. But he's been harassing me online about doing some shit like that, just like going live every day and just talking to myself like one of those guys. And he mentioned specifically Asmongold, and I'm like, I have my reservations about it because that seems excessive and like overexposing myself and just like forcing myself to say things when I don't have anything to actually say. But then you look at the numbers and it's like, okay, well, I'm wrong then. I am wrong because I saw that clip. I don't watch his show. I don't know if I get that presumably there's people that are tuning in to his show, like any of the people that would tune into my show and watching for an extended amount of time. But I feel like a lot of these programs exist as clips that like there is the core audience that tunes in, and then there's hours and hours of this shit, and then they go through and scrub and just like clip it, and then the audience at large, just all the people scrolling on social media, just observe it in clips, right? And so it's just all these things out of context and just it would unstuck from space and time, just people talking either by themselves or to each other, and that's how we all interact with these shows, right? And I did see a clip where that guy Asmongold was talking to that chubby asshole, not me, but that the chubby guy with the mustache who's like the mid 30s Dave Ramsey, Caleb Hammer, and they was asked, and so his whole deal, right? Caleb Hammer is all finance and shit, and he was asking Asmongold, like, what kind of money you make, or what, he was asking him about taxes or something, and he was like, I don't pay attention to none of that. I just plug in my 1099s, and so all I can tell you is I paid. He said he doesn't know what he makes in a year, and he's like, all I can tell you is that I paid $4 million in taxes this year. And so with that information, the hammer deduced that he's probably bringing in at least $8 million a year doing what he's doing. So yeah, I'm wrong in having any reservations about just like putting myself in front of people on the internet and flapping my lips. I still just come from a time, or maybe not even a time, but just like a mode of thought that like you don't want to overexpose yourself, or you want to be discerning about what you create to some degree. Uh, just practicing like quality control, just being like, yeah, I don't want to just do stuff for no reason or just for the sake of doing it. I do want there to be like some amount of something valuable or some meaning to what I do. But that's stupid. I mean, that is just foolish. There's so much stuff out there already. You think about this, think about just like all the years that have been, just there's been a lot of years. And in all that time, all the people that have been making stuff, there's like so much, there's like a lot of good stuff already. So like, who am I to think that I'm going to be somebody that makes anything good? You know what I mean? Like in any given time, there's a bunch of people doing things and making stuff, and a lot of it is just like detritus. Like most of it is probably just dust that gets blown away by time, and then anything worth anything will survive the test of time. And I think that just is what um you know alters our perception of the past, or of just like reality, or just, you get what I'm trying to say. Hold on, what am I trying to say? It's like, think about, like, if you look at, like, hey, we've talked about it before, like classic rock. You would, like, your our perception of it is that there's all these, like, a lot of great music was happening at that time. But I think that's just because of the fact that anything that was good from then was like filtered out and is what has like lasted. And so, like, whenever you turn on your radio, 97.1 the Eagle, which was one of the classic rock stations where I'm from, you're going to hear like all the best of the best from that era. And so it creates this like perception that it was all good, when in reality you're just hearing like all the stuff that was not only good then, but has like stayed good throughout all of time since then. And so then it's Led Zeppelin and Pink Floyd and whatever. But I bet if you go back to any year in the '70s, there'll probably be, like, you look at the charts, so much stuff in the top 10 that you've never even heard of, because while it was appreciated at the moment, it was actually dog shit, and it just flittered away with time. And then anything that was actually good lasted. And so, like, that, in that way, like, our I notion of stuff is shaped, stuff that people make, work, art and entertainment, right? And so it is like a an exercise in ego and hubris to think to myself that I'm going to be any one of the people that makes anything that's good and that will stay good. And then it probably would be more better to just, with wanton disregard, do a bunch of stuff, a lot, um quantity over quality, right? And then what do I care if it's actually like anything substantial or meaningful throughout time, because like I'll be dead at some point. Hopefully not anytime soon, but one of these days I will die. Hopefully a long time from now. But then after that, like, yeah, what do I care? What do I care if in the year fucking 2236, if anybody gives a shit about any of the fucking jokes I told in live streams and podcasts I did. As long as I can, get it when I get it, make my money fucking now, and put some aside, and build a nice nest egg, so that I can, hand it off to the women that will divorce me in the future. What does this say? Robbie Goodwin, member for 3 months, to Tim A. Butterly. That's good. I think we riffed that. Was it last night? It was something we riffed recently. 2 Jules Silver Star. That's cool. Silver. Oh, another Silver Star. Oh shit, 6-7. That's fun. Um, 200 Jules Sunshine. What else is anything else? Wow. Let's get some super chats going. I took a dump before this also. I told myself, I said, I'm going to go live at 8 p.m. Eastern, 7 Central, 6 Mountain, 5 Pacific. That's time zones. So I told myself, I was like, okay, I'm going to go live at 8. But then around 6 o'clock, or no, it was 6 or 7, 6, 7, sometime before I actually, sometime before 8 o'clock today, I bought a big ass watermelon several days ago, and I cut it up into chunks and put it in big like Ziploc. I don't know if it was the brand Ziploc, but what is it? Ziploc is the brand, but what are the bags called? Like, what is the actual name of them outside of the brand Ziploc? Just like zip bags, zip uh there's Ziploc. It doesn't matter. It's just like, how there's Kleenex, but then it's actually tissue or facial tissue, right? But a lot of people just use Kleenex as a catch-all for tissue, or in some states they'll say Coke for all the soda. So it's like, what kind of Coke you want? Oh, Sprite. You know, um, resealable bags. Is that it? Anyway, it really didn't matter, but I got to fill time anyway. Um, so I got this big ass watermelon. I cut it up into chunks and put it into big resealable bags, and then put it in the fridge. A lot of times, what happens when I get a watermelon is I'll cut it in half and then take one of the halves and dig into it, start eating it with a spoon, and then just like put some saran wrap, but that's also a name brand. Plastic wrap. That's what that's called. So one of the name brands is saran wrap, but the actual product itself is just plastic wrap. But I put that on top of the half watermelon and just leave it sitting out. But then the whole thing goes bad in a couple days. So then, but then finally with this one, I said, I've been doing this so stupidly for so long. What I should do is just go ahead and cut up the watermelon and bag it up and store it in the fridge so that it'll last longer. And this thing was such a big watermelon. So I've had these big bags of watermelon chunks for days now, and I said, I was like, man, I don't want these to go bad before I get a chance to eat them. So I fixed me a big ass bowl of watermelon, and Michael Hall in the chat wants to know if I put salt on it. Absolutely, not just regular table salt. I be using tahini, uh, the chili lime salt. That really enhances a watermelon for sure. It brings out more of the flavor of the watermelon, but then adds to it the chili and lime, and so that's a delicious combination. Is the hitting it with the tahini. So yeah, I do be eating it with the tahini, and so I had a big bowl of watermelon, and then I had these also these like dark cherries, not Rainiers, but some other kind of. I got a big plastic container of these like dark cherries that I said, oh, I don't, I want to make sure I eat some of these before they go bad too. And so then I started eating a bunch of unwashed cherries. I don't wash my fruit. Um, and then I also had there was a couple peaches on the counter, and I said, well, shit, I better eat one of these peaches before these peaches go bad. So I had a bunch of watermelon, some cherries, and a peach, and then that all kind of hit me. It was very, it was fiber, a lot of fiber and all that. So that all kind of hit me, and I said, "Oh man, I got to take a shit now," and I could feel it was a heavy one. So I went, and plopped down, and I did not, I try now to not like squeeze it out of me, because for my whole life, just like actually trying to force it, trying to push it out, it causes so much undue discomfort and pain. And so I just sat there and relaxed and just let nature do its thing until I could feel it was time. Sort of, I guess, like how it is to give birth, where it's like you can't just start pushing the baby out. It's like there's contractions, and then it has to be like once it's finally time, the doctor goes, okay, now push. And it is the same way with taking the shit. Basically, like you can feel it. Like when it's ready, you go, okay, now it's time to get these turds out of me. And so, but it was a pretty hefty dump, and it took me a while. And then so I did that, and then so then I had to wipe. Now here's where it gets good, is because had eaten. I must have eaten a well-rounded diet the last leading up to that, because these were good, solid, healthy turds that when I wiped, it was a one wiper. It was just one of those wipes that tells me, oh, I didn't even have to wipe. You know what I mean? So, I wiped, nothing on the paper. I said, this is great. What a blessing, that I don't have to. Because sometimes you go to wipe your ass and it just is like infinity turds, infinity shit that you wipe it and there's a dookie on the paper and you go, oh man, this is going to take a while. This is going to be a long one. You're just wiping and wiping and wiping, and it just is relentless trying to get all the shit out of your butt. But no, this one was just a good old miracle one wiper, and so then I pull up my britches and go to flush the toilet, go to wash my hands. However, and this is what held me up, is I flush the toilet, but I shit big. Like when I take a dump, it's business, So I go to flush and the toilet didn't flush because the turds were too big and it clogged up the commode. So like many dumps I've taken in my life, I had to plunge it because there's been times like I'll take a dump, right, and it'll clog the toilet, and I tell myself I don't want to deal with this right now, and then I just walk away from it, and I'll be like, I'll plunge it later. And then there's just turds in the toilet for many hours. Um, and I had done that from time to time throughout my life, but the last time I did that, uh, something happened where there was turds in the toilet, but then the toilet handle had gotten stuck in a position. I didn't catch that the handle was still lifted up, and the toilet was still like pumping water. However, a toilet works, like when the handle's up and then the thing inside is lifted, and so it was like the toilet was still trying to flush itself while the turds were stuck in it, and so I was just sitting on the couch, and then I saw like water pouring into the living room, and I was like, "What the fuck is going on?" And I followed the water, and it turned the toilet was overflowing and had flooded a lot of the square footage, a lot of big area. There was doo doo water everywhere, and it was a nightmare. And that was like one of those things where it was like, should I just like flee the state? It just like go away, get away from this, and never look back. But I said, no, I got to be responsible here. So there's doo doo water everywhere, and I just start mopping. I'm just grabbing anything I can to try and sop up the doo doo water. Well, the first thing I did, see, this it was so bad. It was like you can't imagine. Like just this was such a like hellish situation because it's like the toilet's overflowing. Like there's water continuing to pour out of it, and it's already like the water's already flowing all just everywhere. Like it's poured out onto the floor, and it's continuing to you know make its way throughout the rooms. It's there's water, doo doo water, just flowing, and I was like, Well, the first thing I got to do is stop the flow of doo doo water, and so while the toilet is completely full of doo doo water and continuing to overflow with doo doo water, I had to grab a plunger and go in to plunge it, which then like because now I got to put the plunger into the toilet, which immediately displaces some doo doo, some more doo doo water spills out, and as I'm plunging it, it's splashing doo doo water everywhere. But then I finally was able to unclog it, and so it flushed. That ensured that there would be no continued flow of doo doo water, right? and and yeah, I turned the water off also. But then now there's doo doo water everywhere. And it wasn't it, I was it wasn't like it was brown water. It wasn't like it was that there was solid turds stuck down in the toilet, right? And then the water was like flowing around the turds and pouring out onto the floor, and then like just flowing throughout the residence, making its way from room to room, and and so none of the water like visibly looked like doo doo, but it's just like I just knew it was doo doo water. Uh, and so, but it wasn't like it didn't look like doo doo or smell like doo doo. It just was more of a, I guess, like a psychological thing that like, oh, this is like there are turds in that toilet, you know. Um, and so yeah, so then I started mopping, and the mop was like pretty ineffective. I'm doing what I can with the mop, and then I'm just looking for anything and everything that I can use to sop up all this doo doo water. And so I'm throwing down towels and blankets and just making my peace with letting these things go. That's like this towel is done for, these blankets. This is all now just gonna go in the trash after this. But I got to do what I can to clean up, this mess. And it just like it was like it took hours. It took like 2 or 3 hours to go through and like sop everything up, and then like go through and mop the floor to clean it, and then give it a once over, and then a twice. So like I had to make sure absolutely that all the doo doo water had been cleaned up and that everything was properly sanitized and actually clean, you know. And so I did my best to effectively like do get rid of all the doo doo water and clean it up, and then clean the floor, and then I just had to try and put it out of my mind. Like I did what I could. Everything's dry now. I've hit it with the water and the Fabuloso, and as far as I can tell, it's clean, and I just have to not think about doo doo particles, because I did what I could. And so since then, anytime I've uh clogged the toilet, I make sure to immediately plunge it, so that way there's no more flood of doo doo water. Um, and so that was just why the dump I took before this was like just a lengthy endeavor. It was it just took a lot of time, because it wasn't just the taking a shit and wiping my ass and washing my hands. I also had to plunge it. $5 from Howling Labubu Rises. This is Dalton's Odyssey. Parentheses TM. What is that? What is that called? The other kind of parentheses, that means trademark. Um. So I guess that was all. Everything I just said was really disgusting. But I look, it is. But it goes to show you that even in dire circumstances, you can fix it. You can like clean up any mess or fix any problem as long as you are willing to put forth the time and effort to do so. Because initially I just was like despondent. I said, "Oh, there's so much doo doo water everywhere. There's no way I'm going to be able to fix this mess." But then I just reached inside myself and found the resolve that I said, "Well, I have no choice. There's no other option right now than to stop this toilet from overflowing and then clean this up." And it's like Churchill. What was that? What is it that Churchill said? Winston Churchill. Like the only way out of hell is through it. And so that's just kind of that was my mentality through that whole ordeal. Was just like, yeah, I've no other recourse here, that I have to clean this by any means necessary, any means possible, which is Kai Cenat's company. Which I don't know if that makes any. I feel like that doesn't make any sense. Isn't the expression "any means necessary"? Any means possible is like, I get. I mean, there's a lot of possibilities. Sure, I don't know. $2 from Drew Huntley. Can we do a Bible war verse wars? I don't know what would be a Bible war. I mean, I feel like most wars have been a Bible war, or they've at least been predicated on the Bible. I mean, yeah, I can read a Bible verse. I can do that at least. Let's see here. What do we got? Proverbs 3, chapter 3, verse 3. Let not mercy and truth forsake thee. Bind them about thy neck, write them upon the table of thine heart. So shalt thou find favor and good understanding in the sight of God and man. Amen. Um, so what else? Hold on, I gotta think real quick. Um Shit. See, I kind of am. Yeah, I'm running out of steam here. Give me a second. You guys want to? How about this? Why don't we listen to a song? Let me see here. Where is it? Oh, here we go. Okay. So, listen to this. There, in the early '90s. So this would have been '93 or '94. So I would have only been like, if I was even born at this point, I would only been like maybe 1 years old, 1 year old when the first Mortal Kombat game was released. Everybody knows the main like Mortal Kombat song called Techno Syndrome by a group called the Immortals, right? The Mortal Kombat, dun, 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 dun. So there's everybody, that's like the big famous song that everybody knows. But then there was a whole album that came out that's like, it's got that song on it, but then they also did a song for each character in the game. I don't know how they I don't know how they came up with like any of the, because it was like at that time, like all these characters were like paper thin as far as like what the game told you about them. It's just like you had a name and what they looked like, and that's about it. So I imagine that's all the information that they had to work with in creating these songs. But the whole album is pretty great. There's a lot of banging ass songs, and so Anyway, that's all to say. Check out the song for Johnny Cage.
Prepare yourself. Prepare yourself. Prepare yourself. Mortal Kombat's on today. Prepare yourself. Mortal Kombat all the way. Prepare yourself. Mortal Kombat's here to stay. Whoa. Johnny Cage's not afraid to die. Please welcome Mr. John Carlton, the blue-eyed actor from Venice, California. He's cool. He's hot. He's brilliant. He's Johnny Cage. Fight, Cage, Johnny's fight. Use his punch to make him cry. He just shoots to get fire. The Johnny Cage we all admire is strong. Fight for your life. Mortal Kombat at the speed of light. So deal with that guys, make him sigh. Johnny Cage's not afraid to die. Prepare yourself. Mortal Kombat's on today. Prepare yourself. Mortal Kombat all the way. Prepare yourself. Mortal Kombat's here to stay. Whoa. Johnny Cage's not afraid to die. Prepare yourself. Prepare yourself. Prepare yourself. Whoa. Johnny Cage's not afraid to die. From the United States of America, the movie star with the iron fist. He's 29. He's mean. He's in great shape. The one and only Johnny Cage. Fight, Cage, Johnny's fight. Use his punch to make him cry. He just shoots to get fire. The Johnny Cage we all admire is strong. Fight for your life. Mortal Kombat at the speed of light. So deal with that guys, make him sigh. Johnny Cage's not afraid to die. Mortal Kombat's on today. Mortal Kombat all the way. Mortal Kombat's here to stay. Whoa. Johnny Cage's not afraid to die. Prepare yourself. Mortal Kombat's on today. Prepare yourself. Mortal Kombat all the way. Prepare yourself. Mortal Kombat's here to stay. Whoa. Johnny Cage's not afraid to die.
Yeah, that's pretty fun, right? I was listening to that when I was walking on the treadmill yesterday, and then I just ended up listening to the whole album. And after 30 minutes, I had walked a mile. My foot be hurting a lot lately. My right foot has been acting up. My right foot has been in pain since I was like 18, just like over a decade now of just constant throbbing, stabbing, and dull pain. Because it's deformed, I suppose. But then it became worse when just one year I fractured my foot, and ever since then it's just been like this perpetual I guess chronic pain that I've just been having to deal with forever. every day since then. And some days are better than others. Some days that like it's not that it goes away, but I guess there's days where I don't notice it or it's diminished. And then there's other days when it's like feels crippling, you know. So now it's hell on earth. Um, and so the last few days have been tough, and so that plus the fact that I'm just like really fat right now, I can't really move with any quickness, speed. Uh, I have to just like walk pretty much, and I can't even walk at a decent pace. So it's like if on a treadmill, it's at about a 2.02 miles per hour, which is a 29 and 50, 29-minute 59-second mile, which is, you know, and I think I can take it up to a 2.5 miles per hour, which would be about a 25-minute mile. But yeah, that's kind of the only range I can work in is from 2 miles per hour to 2.5 miles per hour, and I just have to just deal with that until something gets better. So that's what I was doing yesterday when I was on the treadmill, walking at 2 miles per hour, listening to that, and then the rest of the album. It's a pretty cool album, fun songs. They were kind of effective as a distraction from how much pain I was in. I wasn't gritting and grinding my teeth as much. But yeah, I guess it does sound like gay music. I saw some folks in the chat saying that this just sounds like gay poppers music. So maybe I'm gay. I don't know. I was at a club one time that I don't know how gay it was. I got invited to some dance thing at a club one time. It was a place called the Pyramid Club in one of those neighborhoods in New York. And I was only going there because there was this girl I was attracted to that was going to be there that did not find me attractive or was interested in me sexually or romantically at all. But I was operating with, on a certain desperation and futile hope that maybe she would come around. And so I said, yeah, I'll go. I'll come hang out. And even though that's not an environment I typically want to be in, is like a club with a bunch of people in it dancing. That's not really for me or something I find myself comfortable in. But look, this girl has very large breasts, so I said, I'll be there. And so I went, and I'm just standing there, just kind of shuffling back and forth and bobbing my head, watching her dance with other people, saying to myself, "I'm a fucking idiot. This is so stupid. Why am I behaving like? Why am I even like at this point in my life? I feel like I should have more confidence and assuredness that I wouldn't throw myself into situations that I don't want to be in a desperate attempt to get girls who don't like me to like me. I should just not come. I don't want to be here. But then I had to take a piss. So I went to the bathroom and all the urinals were being used. So I had to go in one of the commodes, and this is when I decided to just go ahead and leave. So I went to piss in the toilet, and the toilet bowl was full up with used needles. And so I did go ahead and piss all over the used needles. I didn't even try to. I'm not gonna like flush it. Uh, I just pissed all over these used needles, and then I walked out and I went up to everybody that I was knew, and I said, "Well, it's been fun. I'll see y'all later." Because that really bothered, that was upsetting, and I just did. That was where I was like, yeah, I don't want to be here anymore. And so knowing what I know about gay guys, though, that they are degenerate drug users, I just assumed that this was mostly a gay place and they were in the bathroom doing intravenous drugs to, enhance their lascivious homosexual activities. But I could be wrong. I mean, maybe it was just like, all sexual orientations thing. It was a bunch of people there doing drugs, gay, straight, bi, whatever, all injecting themselves with various substances. I don't know. I just know that that was disgusting and disturbing. That the toilet bowl was full of used needles, which I guess, like, you know, I'm not gonna like. There's no instance in which I would ever go sticking my hand down into a toilet bowl. Like I'm not really at risk of like getting stuck with one of these things, but it was just really gross for me and kind of put me off on the whole night. That I was like, all right, I'm just gonna leave now. That was gross. And also, this girl was not. I mean, she was like a friend. She's a friend of mine. So it's like I guess we had some connection platonically, but as far as like, you know, actually getting to hold hands with her and give her kisses, that was never going to happen. And that was the only reason I was there was just like, it was just one of those things where I was just like trying to be near this person and hopefully, I don't know. I don't even know like what I was thinking. You know what I mean? Like whenever you like someone and you're just like trying to spend time with them however you can, just hoping they'll look at you and be like, "Oh, come to think of it, I would like to have sex with that guy." I guess that was like the extent of what I was trying to accomplish, and it's just an exercise in futility, and also just something that you know I feel like is detrimental to my overall spirit. You know what I mean? Like it's because it's so defeating and so deflating that it's like, yeah, why am I doing this? There's nothing wrong with just staying home and jacking off to pictures of her on the internet and then trying to meet someone else who actually does like me. You know what I mean? Um, so there is that. Oh, did something? Oh, 10 joules gold coin. Oh, thank you for that. $5 from Howling, Labubu, Johnny Cage, Sonya Blade, and Kano are probably the only ones that aren't lactose intolerant out of the whole cast. Is that because they're the only ones that are white? Who are the other ones? Jax, Raiden. You think a Thunder God is lactose intolerant just because he's Chinese? Maybe. They call him. By the way, They say Raiden's a Thunder God, but it's very explicitly his power is lightning. Thunder is just the sound that happens when there's lightning. I was told in school that it's the because the clouds is rubbing up against each other, and that's what makes the sound of thunder. But lightning itself doesn't actually make a sound unless you're like there at the site of where it strikes. Maybe it makes like a crackling, crashing sound. But then the thunder is a separate thing. But they be saying that Raiden is a god of thunder, which is what just a loud that would just be a loud sound. No, he's a god of lightning. Same with Thor. Thor, they call the god of thunder. It's like, well, no, these are lightning powers. And I don't even think. By the way, you don't even have to understand science to know that because I mean, we already had those distinctions before there was any scientific knowledge of lightning and thunder. It was like there was obviously two distinct phenomenon occurring: the lightning and then also thunder is the two different things. So I think the Raiden, the Thunder God, is a misname. He's the Lightning God, but I guess I'm just splitting hairs here. I think although I do think Raiden would be able to drink a glass of milk and it not hurt his tummy. But I guess like Liu Kang and Kung Lao, Jax, they probably are struggle with milk. And then Liu Kang and Kano, because they're East Asian, also probably can't drink too much alcohol. Because I was told that like Chinese people and Koreans and Japanese and all, like any of the I don't want to call them squints, but that's the word that just popped into my head. Have some sort of, I don't know if it's an allergy or just sensitivity to alcohol, and so they get drunk like way faster than honkies and black people. Like they get drunk like easier and quicker, and it doesn't take that much booze to get them drunk. And that's why like in Korea, even there, like they drink soju, but even soju is only like 20% ABV, so it's like 40 proof. Whereas, but I think they still also have like actual liquors, like a typical spirit here in the states would be about 80 proof, so 40% ABV. I think they still have some of that over there, but I think primarily like if they're drinking like shots or like what we would consider like liquor, the way we drink liquor, they be drinking like soju, which is only 20%. And it does. Well, here's the thing though, because I've drank it before, it gets you fucked up, but that's because it goes down so easy that you drink a whole bottle of it without realizing it, and then you black out. So I mean, yeah, it's still even as a honk, I've drank an entire bottle of soju before, but that's still just like a lot of alcohol, and I've blacked out on it. But I think over there they only need like a couple shots of it, and then they turn all red and get really really drunk because the Koreans and Chinese and all them, it's some enzyme, I don't know the science, but it's some I got a friend who's Chinese or something. He's like one of them, dirty knees. Look at these. That was telling me that he can't drink too much booze before he's just wasted, and he said it's an Asian thing. So it's not like they can't drink alcohol. It's just that they don't need as it's honestly kind of a gift. It's kind of a blessing. They don't need as much alcohol to get drunk as like other races and ethnicities. Whereas like when I was drinking, um, you know, like the first time I ever drank, yeah, I got drunk pretty quick, but then I developed a tolerance to it. And then but by the time just over the years of me drinking, and then by the time I quit drinking, I was to where it would just cost me so much money to be able to get drunk, because it just I was able to put them back at that point because I developed this tolerance to it where like a 30 pack of Keystone Light, if somebody brought that to a get together, I'd be like, is that all you're bringing? We only gonna have 30 beers, or I that would even be not enough for me. Like I would, if I was going to a friend's house and we're all drinking, I would stop and get 2 30 packs of Keystone Light. But those were mine. I'd put them in the cooler and I'd say, hey guys, these Keystone Lights, these are mine. So just be sure to ask me before you just take one. And then I would work to make sure that I drink all 60 before anybody else gets to them. And that would get me good and toasty for sure. At least 60 would set me straight. But that's all to say that I did get to a point where it would just it took so much for me to be able to get drunk that like going out and go to a place to drink would just destroy my bank account. Like if I was going to go meet friends at a bar or some a place where you have to order drinks, with that kind of markup, fucking $8 beers, $16 cocktails. I would be lucky if my bank account wasn't negative the next day, because I start drinking, right. I catch a little buzz, and then I just throw caution to the wind at that point. Like, money, it doesn't exist anymore. It's no option. It's no matter. I'm just, now I'm in the mindset of like, I'm enjoying this. I'm having a lot of fun drinking and getting drunk, and I'm just going to keep ordering drinks. And then whatever bill they bring me, I'll sign it and leave a 20% tip. And I look at my bank account the next day, and it's like, God damn, I spent fucking $200 at a Korean karaoke bar. Um, and so that is like where it would be nice to actually just be Korean, so that it doesn't take that much to actually get drunk. Now if it was now here's the thing though, if it's Raiden the Thunder God, he probably could drink the same way a white person could. Same with just like with milk, but that's because he's a god. What does this say? $2 from Drew Huntley. Lightning crashes by live. Sure. That'll kill some time. Lightning crashes. That's a good song. Let me see here. Will it let me? Fuck. I got the because I figured out like with the streaming, if I actually get the file, like the video file, and do it that way, that the fidelity for the audience is much better than running it just through StreamYard. But the only way I can do that, okay, it looks like I can do that. Yeah, because I mentioned it before that I just got kind of lucky. Um, shit, but sometimes it doesn't work. So I got kind of lucky where there was a time where just on the Google Chrome at like plugin where you go to download like add-ons and plugins for Google Chrome, there was one that was available that would let you, when you go to visit a YouTube video, you could just download the video file. But then YouTube became much more restrictive about that, and then that they stopped allowing that plugin. However, since I had already downloaded it, it's still on my at least this current profile that I'm logged into on Chrome. And so that makes it easy. That allows me to just, rather than have to go to some sketchy website to download a video file from YouTube, I can just go ahead and download it, which, to, abiding by Drew's request, I was able to do, and I can actually, I got to find it now. Let me see here. Here we go. I can play the song that he paid to listen to.
Lightning crashes, a new mother cries. Hopeless until falls to the floor.
You.
The angel opens her eyes. The confusion sets in before the doctor can even close the door. Lightning crashes, an old
her intentions fall to the floor. The angel closes her eyes. The confusion that was hers belongs now to the baby down the hall. Oh, my feeling coming back again, like a rolling thunder chasing the wind, forces pulling from the center of the earth. I can feel it. Lightning crashes on mother cries. This moment she's been waiting for. The angel opens her eyes, pale blue colored eyes, presents the circle, puts the glory out to hide. Oh, my feeling coming back again, like a rolling thunder chasing the wind, forces pulling from the center of the earth. I can feel it. I can feel it.
Is this going to get the stream pulled down? I think I have to pause it to say something to be like, no, I'm altering it in some in a way that it's different now for fair use. Anyway.
I can feel it coming back again, like a rolling thunder chasing the wind, forces pulling from the center of the earth again. I can feel it. I can feel it coming back again, like a rolling thunder chasing the wind, forces pulling from the center of the earth again. I can feel it. I can feel it coming back again, like a rolling thunder chasing the wind, forces pulling from the center of the earth again. I can feel it. I can feel it. I can
Wow. That's powerful. Yeah, babies do be having a smell. I know that like women like it. Like they're very activated by the smell of a baby. Like if you got a girlfriend or a wife and you're not ready to have a kid, well, you better keep her away from the smell of babies because they be smelling it and they're like, oh, I gotta have a baby now. It's like a biological thing for the continued proliferation of the human species. I suppose, is like why babies smell the way they do. But it's like, yeah, I've seen girls just go crazy because they smell they that's the first thing. It's weird, man. Like whenever there's a baby around, like somebody just had a baby and they bring it over, and is one of the first things like I've seen my mom and all my aunties do this where they're like, "Oh, can I smell the baby?" I'm like, "What the fuck?" But it turns out babies be smelling like baby. um, I guess I just have no paternal or like child rearing instincts because anytime I'm around babies, like like if I know somebody that's just had a baby and the baby happens to be around when I'm there, I get like freaked out. I'm like, yo, I don't want to be near this baby. Don't ask me to hold it. I certainly don't want to smell it. It's all scary to me, especially man when people have a baby and they're like, here, hold him. All I can think about is all the ways this is going to go wrong or could go wrong. I just imagine myself dropping the baby or spiking it like a football or throwing it against the wall, which I would not. I wouldn't like deliberately do those things, but that's all that's going through my head when I'm handed a baby, and I'm just so tense and nervous. Like, oh man, I hope I don't screw this up. And I'm just scared the whole time, and I just am like, here, take this baby back. I don't want to hold this thing. It's a cute baby. I mean, I'm happy for you. I'm not like against, children and babies and families and all that. But that scares me whenever. I don't. Why is that? By the way, why is that something that I don't know if it's just my experience, but that's been my experience that any like relatives of mine that have had a baby, whenever they bring the baby around, it's like their first inclination is like, here, hold him. Well, I don't want to hold this baby. That's too much responsibility for me. What if I put him in the microwave? Which I wouldn't do, but that is what I'm thinking is like, how many seconds can a baby be in the microwave before it's fucked up? Probably just like 1 second would kill it, but that is what's going through my mind is like, is there an amount of time you can microwave a baby before it's dead? And then if it survives being in the microwave, what has happened to it? How has it now been altered? Which I wouldn't do that. I'm not going to do that. But when somebody hands me their baby, I just go through all the ways that this could be a disaster, right? Which maybe is like a survival mechanism. Like that's like my mind ensuring that none of those things actually happen and that I just hold tight to this baby and don't do any of those things. But I don't like I don't like thinking that those things and being in that situation. It's like, cute kid. I don't want to hold him. I don't want to hold the baby. I want to smell. I can smell it from here. He shit himself. That's what babies be do. That's all babies do. They shit on themselves. They be eating and shitting. It was pretty cool. It's just like the base human experience is eating, sucking on titties, taking shits. Pretty cool. Pretty cool way to live, and you really only get to do it when you're a baby, and then you don't remember any of it. So that is like one of the values of a baby. Is one of the good things about babies is that we can see them, you know, sucking on titties and eating Cheerios and taking shits and just thinking to ourselves like, man, that's living. But then we're the ones responsible for cleaning all that up, and so that's where it's a a whole ordeal. But that's the only way we get to actually experience what it's like to live in a way where all you have to do is suck on titties and take shits is like once we're adults caring for babies, but when like when we ourselves are babies, we don't get to appreciate that that's what our life is in that moment. Is that all we got to do is suck on titties and take shits. um, and then you know what else occurred to me watching that music video just now, that we first off, that did sound just like that's very 90s sounding. Like, what, there is a particular sound that is just like, oh, that's the 1990s. But then also, uh we used to, it feels like guys used to be much more cool and chill about being bald. It seems to be a thing of great concern and distress now, going bald. Like, it's really so just one of those things that a lot of guys now are very upset about when it starts happening to them, and they're taking finasteride and looking at Norwood charts, and trying to figure out how to stop this from happening, or to reverse it in some way. But it seems like back in the day, like, guys just went bald and it was fine. And we had bald rock stars like that guy, or the presidents of the United States of America. And then what was the other one? Michael Stipe, REM. Guys went bald, and some of them even were rock stars. And there was much less emphasis on like balding and being bald, because I mean back then there were no, I guess because there was no like recourse for it back then. Billy Corgan, yes, a bald rock star. There was no like pills or hair. You couldn't fly to Turkey and get hair transplants. And then like once they started developing all these ways to reverse balding, now that there's something to buy, that to be sold to you, now balding is like this great concern for so many guys. And really, you're falling victim to like marketing by these companies that want to sell you hair restoration stuff, where it's just like, now look, I have a voluminous, robust, bountiful head of hair. um I'm wearing a hat right now here. I can show you. I got a full ass head of hair. And so it's not like I ain't got to like worry about balding or being bald or none of that. I just have a good, thick, healthy head of hair. And that's, one of the good things about my genetics, I suppose, where like most everything else is bad with my body, but I do be having a good head of hair. But if I was balding, I would just let it happen. I wouldn't do the thing where I just go ahead and shave my hair. I would just rock the Norwood as it happens, and then if it settles into a nice horseshoe, I would just keep that. But I would not, you know, uh, uh, you, what's the word I'm looking for? I wouldn't just concede to it and just go ahead and shave. I would experience all the levels of Norwood and have fun with it. I would do the Wayne Grow from Heat. The who's another cool Norwood guy? Jack Nicholson. I would really embrace all the Norwood as my hair falls out, and then just like whatever hair is left by the end of it is what I have. Um, but I don't think that's ever something I would have to deal with. Because as far as I can tell, my whole family is pretty hairy. Like we have like good thick heads of hair on both sides. Now, I will say on my dad's side, like his mom, my grandmother, and him, never went bald. They never went bald. my grandma never even went completely gray, but she always had a full head of hair. And my dad is in his 60s now, and he still has a full head of hair, even though like he was in the military, so he's always like kept it cut really short. Like he's always had military haircuts, so he's never really done anything with it. But he's not balding at all in his 60s. And then, but then not really that much facial hair or body hair on that side. Like my dad can grow like a wispy, wiry mustache, like a thin little, doesn't even come in all the way mustache. But he can't really grow a full mustache or beard, and he doesn't have like much chest hair, back hair, or armpit hair. But then on my mom's side, all my her dad, my peepaw, and he's dead now. And then all of my uncles all have like nice full heads of hair and are also just very hairy. A lot of Robin Williamses on that side. And so I kind of like inherited a little bit of both where like I can't my facial hair doesn't come in too good, but it does come in like fuller than my dad's, but also like real curly and coarse like pubes, and just like it's just like these like big patches that grow in that look like shit. And so that's why I just have to stay clean shaven. And then I do have like you know like all on my chest and belly and my back like body hair, but nothing too crazy. It's not like Austin Powers or nothing. But I do have some body hair and then a little bit of armpit hair, but I'm not like terribly hairy throughout my body. It's just a little bit more than what my dad has. Um, and I was where that benefits me though is that my pubic hairs just grow in uh already pretty shapely, I guess is how I put it. They don't grow in all wild and too bushy. They it's just like the pelvis area grows in a little bit and then it just kind of stops there. And so then I don't have like this this wild bush of pubes that I have to maintain. It just kind of maintains itself. Nothing on the balls, no hair on the balls. It's all like pretty much above the penis pubic hairs, just like the pubic mound. I guess is what it's called. So that's pretty cool. And I mean, I have shaved my pubes like a couple times in my life because I was told that that's like something you should do. I caved in to peer pressure and went in the bathroom with a Bic disposable razor and just hacked away at my pubes, and I fucking hated it. Like immediately, I was like, man, my penis and testicles look really weird now, and this is really uncomfortable. Like as it's growing back in, it's just like I'm having to experience the sensation of like my pubes being all stubbly and scraping against my britches as they grow back in. It was really uncomfortable, and I don't know why I did it twice because the first time sucked, but I did it another time after that, and I was like, I'm never doing that again. I feel like I don't have like enough pubes anyway where this is needed. And then also anytime I'm in a situation where if I'm ever in a situation where I'm gonna have sex with somebody, by the time it gets to where she's agreed to at least like let me be naked. If we're at a place where she is consented to seeing my penis and testicles, well then she's I don't who's going to back out at that point? I guess some women do, but I feel like if we get to the point where my britches are coming off, then it feels like that's the point of no return where I don't it's not like the pubes then are going to be a deal breaker. It's just like, yeah, you just have to, I guess, like pick them out of your teeth later. But I don't know. I've never even like kissed a girl, so it doesn't matter. Um, what does this say? Hold on, there was something that came through. $10 from Howling Labubu Rises. Could you please spit some bars about your current life experience, but with a focus on the dog? It may be Sumo Dog, but what do I know that is very loyal to you? Oh, and then he also gifted 5 corn-fed memory. Hey, thank you for that. By the way, folks, hey, keep them coming. The crypto market is down right now, so I need help. I don't know what dog he's talking about. I did see a dog just out on the street the other day. I think somebody dumped a dog near where I am. I saw a dog walking in the street, and then when it noticed me, it ran over into the ditch in the grass, and but then it was just looking up at me. Like it wasn't like running away from me or anything. It was just getting out of my way. But then I think she was just like looking at me, hoping I would do something, because um, this dog had very enlarged teats, which I don't know if she was currently pregnant or had just had puppies, but she had big ass titties. You know, like when a dog gets like uh like their undercarriage, their tits get all big because they either are pregnant or are still breastfeeding their puppies. This dog had big ass titties. I just felt so bad for it, man, because like there's nothing I could do to help, and somebody just dumped off a pregnant dog. It was a really pretty dog too, like really nice looking dog that just was, just wanted somebody to save it from the wild that it now found itself in. But all I can do is pray. Um, oh, the dog I lost. He's saying the dog. Oh well, that dog. I mean, the thing about that. I mean that was yeah, that was like the dog I had grown up with. Um, which I really love that dog and I miss him. But I'll tell you this, like that sucked when he died the way he died. However, that dog was not doing too good for like the last 2 years of its life. He was a Shih Tzu, and he was 17 when he died. And I would say about 2 years prior to when he was euthanized is when he should have been euthanized. But I'm not going to get into all of it, but he continued to live well past what was good for him. And he just was like suffering a lot for a while there. He was this dog that anytime he was actually awake, he was just always like hacking and hawkering. You just hear him going, "Ugh, ugh, ugh." It was like I felt so bad for him, and I was like, God damn. I mean, I remember thinking like, anytime he went to sleep, I would be like, man, I hope this dog. And it sucks that this was what I was thinking, but I genuinely was like, I hope this dog just passes away in his sleep. I hope he can like not have to deal with this anymore. But he continued to live, but he was like mostly blind and didn't know where he was most of the time, and was just always like his heart was going out. He couldn't breathe too good. All of his joints and bones were killing him. And then, unfortunately, what ended up happening was that he got chomped by a bigger dog, and that didn't even kill him. He got chomped, and then he like one of his eyes was falling out, and he was like, really hurt. And that's when I was like, okay, well, it's time to take this dog to the animal hospital and have him put down. So I grew up with that dog, and I really love that dog, and I have a lot of memories with him. He's a good boy. But it was kind of a relief when he finally passed away, just because he had been like in a lot of pain for a while, and I didn't like the fact that he had was like continuing to live and having to suffer with all of that for quite some time. So anyway, is that the dog you were talking about? Look, 17 years is a good long life for a dog, especially when it should have been 15. He should have been put down like right when he was starting to diminish. Like he stopped he stopped having like any real mobility and couldn't play with his toys anymore. He struggled to eat and drink any water. He couldn't breathe that well. He was just in a constant state of like when he mostly was sleeping, but anytime he was awake was just hell for him. So like, yeah, it sucks that he died the way he did, but what he was on his last legs anyway, and it was like sometimes I wonder if that dog that bit him like did him a favor. As nasty as that was, I was like, man, something stepped in to just finally end this nightmare for this dog. Uh, it sucks, man. Hey, look, dogs die. I mean, it's unfortunate, but as much as I love dogs and everybody loves dogs, one of the last thing they do is they die, and that's every dog. And so that's why you have to cherish the time that you have with them, make the best of it, and then one of the good things about us being humans and them being dogs is that we can allow them to pass away gracefully and pain without pain. They don't let us do that really, like as people. Like if you're a person, you're gonna live, no matter what, in spite of any protest and suffering that you're dealing with. Um, like my grandpa. Well, he was my nana's third husband, but he's basically my grandpa because my actual grandpa was not really a part of my life ever. By the time I was born, it was my grandma's third husband that was pretty much my grandpa. But he was ready to die about 10 years before he died, but he was kind of kept alive against his will because, they don't let you punch your own ticket in at least in this country. They kind of just force you to live and then die without any dignity. um, but when you have a dog, though, you get to make that decision and say, well, I don't want this dog to have to suffer um, needlessly. There's no quality of life left for this creature, and so I will now allow him to pass gracefully, dignified. That didn't happen with my dog, but that is something that you can do with a dog, and that's why. But just and dogs don't live that long either. So you just have to try and make the most of the time you do have with them, and just cherish it. And I don't know. It sucks that they don't they only live what little they do, 10 or so years. Um, but it kind of I don't know, gives you perspective for sure. It makes you appreciate just your time on this earth that much more. You know, it does is one of the ways that dogs just help us. I don't know, navigate existence because they ain't here that long, and we have to make our peace with their passing. every time it happens. And then, but by the time we get up there in age, it's like I've already done this with a bunch of dogs. I'm ready. You know. Um, Anything else y'all want to talk about? I got my I've screwed up. Because I forgot I didn't cancel my New York Times subscription. I paused it and then I forgot to just go ahead and actually cancel it. And then it was like on a 3 month pause, and then it like renewed itself recently, and I was not happy to see that charge to my bank account. But since I have it anyway, you guys want to see what's in the news? Um, I mean, look at this. It's an interesting publication because the first page, like the front page, like what's on the main thing when you go to their website, is like all the hysteria and histrionics about Trump and the war and everything, and just all the stuff that we're inundated with anyway in the news, right? The failing New York Times and their liberal lies, right? But then if you just like scroll down like a little bit past that, you get to like the meat of the New York Times, where I think they actually do have good journalism and fun articles and stuff. And that's, but I can't. My problem is like I can't focus on nothing anymore anyway, and so like I just had I don't read anything anymore. And that's the thing about the newspapers, you have to read it. But I just have found myself um just struggling to read anything these last few years. I guess because of technology or whatever constant distractions that I have going have rendered me unable to focus on anything. I started reading a book like several weeks ago, and I think I read like 2 chapters, and I just haven't picked it up since then. And I've done that with like several different books over the last few years. Just started them, read like 40 or 50 pages, and then just never picked them up again. And so that's why, like, if you have a subscription to a fucking newspaper, you're just burning your money every month. If you're like me and you can't even find a way to sit down and actually read anything. But maybe I could try that now. Um, Here we go. Oh, did anyone see this? No, wait. That's old news. What? Hold on. I'm looking for something. Let's see. Oh, here we go. This looks interesting. Okay, here we go. This is a guest essay by Julia Bellows. Julia Bellows, Belluz. Oh, here we go. $20 from Howling Labubu. Dogs are cool in debate. Yes, dogs are cool. Hold on, check this out. Here, I guess I can put it up on screen. So look at this, dude. So this is the failing New York Times, right? And it says here, the coming peptide free for all by Julia Bellows. And it says it's a guest essay. So this isn't even an article, it's an essay. Let's see what it says. One of the more successful activist campaigns in U.S. history was about keeping dietary supplements virtually unregulated. In the early 1990s, Americans besieged Capitol Hill with letters and phone calls demanding the government stay out of the public's vitamin cabinet. I mean, people do love snake oil. Uh, you go to anyone's home and they're going to have shelves and shelves of bullshit. And I don't like the even the idea of the government getting in the way of that, of being able to spend hundreds, if not thousands of dollars on shit that don't do anything. Following the outcry, which was largely orchestrated by the vitamin industry, Congress passed a law in 1994 that protected supplement makers from the burden pharmaceutical companies shoulder, having to prove through clinical trials that products were safe and effective before being sold to patients. So the vitamin industry itself is the one that whipped people up into a frenzy. And so that's what she says, that the vitamin industry is the one that orchestrated the hysteria about regulation for vitamins. The supplement industry ballooned and is now valued at some $70 billion. Today, it features some evidence backed products, but also many dubious, sometimes dangerous ones, including supposed metabolism, muscle, and brain boosters. Americans often can't know for sure what's in these products or if they work as claimed. One study estimated that supplements cause thousands of emergency department visits each year. Another found that they are a common cause of liver injury. So they do something. I didn't know that. Because anytime I've ever taken supplements, it just feels like, oh, I just spent $40 on that. But it doesn't seem like it's doing anything, you know. And so I didn't know that they actually do something that causes you to have to go to the ER and or also damage your liver. So they don't entirely just do nothing. They can hurt you. Now, experimental peptides. I still don't know what a peptide is. I keep hearing about this shit, and somebody keeps telling me I got to get on retatrutide. It's like I don't know what any of this is or what it's supposed to do. I think she's about to explain it. Now, experimental peptides, unproven chemicals that are short chains of amino acids. Okay, that clears that up. Could secure a similar shield by essentially bypassing full Food and Drug Administration review. It's part of a broader push to increase the number of drugs and ingredients that don't have to meet the strict evidence standards the FDA usually requires before they are marketed as improving health. There's no question that the FDA wasn't designed for this wellness crazed Ozempic era with flourishing telehealth, experimental peptides sold online from China, and social media algorithms fueling it all. But the agency is also the only thing standing between consumers and a Wild West market for these drugs. There has to be a better way forward than dropping or circumventing the scientific standards meant to protect public health. Well, you know what I say, libertas. I don't need the government getting in between me and liver failure. This week, an FDA advisory committee voted in favor of regulatory changes that would increase access to 6 peptides: BPC 157, TB 500, KPV, MOTS-C, CMAX, and Epitalon. Even though these drugs are not FDA approved, the decision came after Health Secretary Robert F. Kennedy Jr.'s office named 8 new members to the committee, 6 of whom had ties to the peptide business. I mean, it's probably just a coincidence. The committee's decisions are non-binding, but if the FDA adopts its advice, which it usually does, compounding pharmacies that mix drugs tailored for individual patients will be allowed to legally make and sell these peptides. BPZ, or whatever the fuck these things are. This meeting wasn't just about peptides, however. It was a referendum on how to balance evolving consumer demand with scientific evidence. Americans want a health system that helps them lead a long, healthy life, and one that addresses their individual needs and concerns. They're going outside the bounds of traditional healthcare in growing numbers. Well, look, it's no secret. It's not like a new thing that the whole healthcare system in this country sucks and is broken. It doesn't work, and so we got to take it in a we got to take it in our own hands and maybe take some peptides because health insurance doesn't cover what it should. The committee's stance suggested Americans should get even more help doing just that. Historically, compounding pharmacies filled gaps in the drug ecosystem for individual patients. Opening up the compounding pathway to more and more products just allows more and more products to go around the FDA. A drug regulatory expert at Harvard, Harvard is one of these like liberal institutions that's just a bunch of bullshit going on over there. Aaron Kesselheim told me, and we may never end up getting any of this useful information about how safe or effective the products are. I mean, look at it, dude. Look at this. Look at the libtards at Harvard. Again, trying to get in the way of our lives. It's like we want peptides. We want the what are they again? What does it say? Amino acids, unchained, unproven chemicals. There are short chains of amino. We want our short chains of amino acids. But then once again, the liberal elites at Harvard are trying to get in the way of our sweet short chains of amino acids. Peptides are produced in the human body. Synthetic versions of them have long been used in medicine and can be genuinely revolutionary. Insulin and Ozempic are both FDA approved peptides. I didn't know that. Okay, so I didn't know that Ozempic is a peptide. So that's what a peptide is Ozempic, and have decades of rigorous human clinical trials backing their safety and effectiveness. For the batch of unapproved peptides the committee voted on, the clinical evidence runs thin to non-existent. I run thick. Booming on the gray and black markets, these drugs are often produced in China and marketed on. Actually, I walk thick, I don't run. Marketed on websites that purport to sell them for the purpose of, quote, research. Social media influencers and even some clinicians promote their use for everything from weight loss to wrinkle reduction to longevity. So can they actually do that? Or is this just like a bold new era of snake oil? Ahead of the meeting, the FDA's own scientists advised against their broader use because data from studies in humans are so laggy. So that's the issue, is that nobody knows if they can actually do any of this shit. The agency scientists also raised concerns that they are difficult to consistently manufacture, and at least one, Epitalon, had properties that could theoretically promote cancer cell growth. None of this deterred a majority of the committee members. They seemed to vote in favor of what Anant Vinjamori, the chief medical officer of HIMSS, an online medication provider that plans to sell peptides, referred to as open-mindedness. In the public comment portion of the meeting, Dr. Vinjamori spoke in support of BPC 157. That's big penis cock 157, a drug for which there have been no completed large-scale randomized trials in humans, though patient anecdotes abound. He acknowledged the evidence for the peptide's effectiveness was thin, but added, don't read thin as non-existent. Other speakers with a stake in the peptide market similarly made the case for medical freedom, claiming that they've seen remarkable turnarounds in the health of patients on these drugs. I wonder if one of these could fix my foot. They pointed out that because the demand for peptides already, and my knee and hip, my back be hurting. I mean, it's probably just because like being fat is probably what's causing a lot of the issues I have. But if I could take one of these BPCs, maybe that would, really get the ball rolling so I could better lose the weight. They pointed out that because the demand for peptides already exists, it's better to have patients get them through trusted compounding pharmacies rather than on the gray or black markets. What is the black market? A liquor store? The arguments echoed those of Secretary Kennedy, who has acknowledged he's a big fan of peptides. Quote, my hope is that they're going to get moved to a place where people have access from ethical suppliers, he said on the Joe Rogan Experience podcast. If the agency moves ahead, entrepreneurs will surely bank millions and some patients may find relief, but others may be harmed. Compounders, like Anthony Cumia, are not even required to report adverse events for drugs like these to FDA, so the harms may never be accounted for. To mitigate such risks, the National Institutes of Health could step in and study each drug or peptide. Can you begin a sentence with the word or? I guess that's a creative liberty. I mean, I guess if you understand the rules, you can break them. Or peptide companies could research them and then seek formal FDA approval. The fact that they haven't feels like an acknowledgement that they probably won't work. The advisory members who voted to approve peptides cited again and again public demand, the way supplement proponents did in the 1990s. But where does this logically? That's what I was just thinking. Like, there's a lot of public demand for fucking heroin and meth and crack, but those are regulated. Like, you can't just get those things. And so, I mean, if the argument is like, well, there's a lot of public demand for this. Well, yeah, there's a lot of public demand for fucking, lowering the age of consent, but you don't want to listen to those guys. Or maybe, I mean, I would look. I am not. I don't know. I'm not on board with that. But there's a lot of people that would. That you get what I'm saying. You get what the argument. That was maybe a bad argument. But you get what I mean. Like, anytime there's public demand for something, that should not like influence too much, like the way it's regulated or how we approach it. Because there's a lot of public demand for a lot of dumb shit. As Peter Lurie, president of the nonprofit Center for Science and the Public Interest and a former FDA associate commissioner, told me, this means that if you could generate enough demand, even illegally, FDA would have to turn a blind eye. This is a profound challenge to the drug approval process itself. So yeah, that's what I was thinking. Is like, so was that mean that just like if enough people want it, then that's what's going to decide that we just have access to it. And maybe there's some that would make the argument that that's the way things should be. I know a guy who used to be on this show who would think that way. But I'm very like, I believe in the government and I trust the government a lot. And think that the government should protect us from short chains of amino acids. So anyway, so that was an article. That was an article in the New York Times, and I did actually finally figure out kind of what peptides are. Short chains of amino acids, and then now that begs the question: what is an amino acid? And what is a short, what is it? What is the, what does it mean when it's a short chain? Um, and look, it does, but it upsets me that I probably spent thousands. I definitely spent thousands and thousands of dollars on all the science classes I took in college, and I don't know what an amino acid is or how they work or what the significance of them being in a short chain is. Um, GATC says T space dot. I do, yeah. So that's amino acids, right? Because that's what D. So that's what DNA is, isn't it? Is like a bunch of amino acids in a chain, and that's what the G like Gattaca. Isn't that what Gattaca means? The building blocks of proteins. Yes. Ribosomes. Man, I don't remember none of this shit. This is so upsetting. I could have been something, man. If I could have just like paid better attention and been more diligent and studious and disciplined, man, I wouldn't even. You wouldn't see me doing this shit right now. I'd be fucking doing science or something. I was, spending fucking however like $8,000 a semester or whatever it costs to go to college, and I was like a science major for a number of years. I spent all this fucking money on all these like science classes, and I'm reading this article just now, realizing like I don't remember anything. I don't remember any of what those professors taught us. Like all the lectures I sat through and homework I did, all the studying and tests I took, desperately trying to pass these classes, which I did for a while. I'll tell you this, I did pass my classes up until I got to the like upper level courses. So I passed biology 1, biology 2, chemistry 1, chemistry 2, organic chemistry 1, organic chemistry 2, statistics, algebra, trigonometry, calculus 1. I passed all those classes, and then when I was taking calculus 2 and mechanical physics, and then elementary biochemistry, I was failing every exam, and I just quit and switched to a different major. But I spent fucking like 3 years studying this shit, going to all these lectures, reading the textbooks, going to tutoring, studying, doing homework, taking tests, and I'm reading this shit just now about peptides and amino acids, and like I don't even remember like the basics. It was like I couldn't even remember what the fucking amino acid is, and like why what it even means for it to be in a short chain, or what even is like, because if there's a short chain, then I'm thinking, okay, that means there's also long chains. Well, what's the difference? What are these things? But I know for a fact that at some point in my life, many years ago, I did learn all this, and I paid a lot of money for it, and I don't remember any of it. And I guess I suppose that's because I've allowed my mind to atrophy as I've pursued other endeavors that have been fruitless. I haven't like made the effort to actually continue to educate myself and maintain any of the knowledge that I procured during that time. Meanwhile, a lot of people I was in those classes with, they went on to take the MCAT, which is the entrance exam to get into med school, and they're fucking doctors now with like their own practices, probably making $400,000-500,000 a year. And yeah, I mean they still have student loans, but that's the thing is like they're making enough money each year to be able to make the payments on those things. Whereas like I got to call a company called First Mark Services and ask them if I have any forbearance left because I can't make the payments this month. And they go, no, you've used up all of your forbearance. So if you can't make the payment, then it's just going to be late and your interest is going to go up. And I go, fuck, I should have become a doctor. I should have did better, and so that I could have got. Although I don't even know if like my goal was ever. You want to know what happened? Is I was talking to a doctor one day. I was seeing my family physician, and I was like either a junior or senior in high school, and so he was asking me as he was looking at my penis and testicles. He was like, "So you're about to go to college? Like, what are you going to major in?" And I was like, I don't know. I was thinking like something like art or something, some liberal arts. You know, he was like, that's fucking stupid. He's like, if you want to do anything creative, just do it. He's like, well, you think the Beatles have a music degree? And I was like, well, two of them are dead, but I see your point. And he was like, no, you need to major in like in STEM, you know. And I think he said something about like biomechanical. And so when I was looking through like the degrees that were offered at the college I went to, all the like majors and well, you know, whatever they offered, I saw biochemistry and I was like, oh, that's like what my doctor said, I think. And so I just picked that, but I had no plan going into it. And I found out like once I started taking those classes, a lot of the students that are taking like are doing STEM programs, like it's those particular majors like science, like biology, chemistry, biochemistry, that kind of stuff is because they are planning on going to med school because that's like the only field you know that you can they you'll be able to go into that makes any money. I think like getting a science degree doesn't mean you're going to be like working as a scientist. It just means you'll have a science degree and then have to find a shitty job with it. But all those science classes provide like a good foundation for if you're going to take the MCAT to then go to med school. Because you can major in whatever you want in undergrad and still go to med school. And so there are people that major in like history and just study for the MCAT the whole time. And then once they graduate, they also will take the MCAT, and if they pass it, they go on to med school. But I guess like the accepted or just like the one of the accepted knowledges is that it's a good idea that if you are planning on going to med school to go ahead and major in like a science degree because then that gives you so much of what's going to be on the MCAT and then in med school, right? So that was like what most of the other students in those programs were doing when I just didn't have a plan at all. And I remember being like, you know, when I was a freshman talking to somebody and they mentioned the MCAT and it was the first time I'd ever even heard of it. And I was like, what is the MCAT? And he was like, are you serious? I was like, I don't know what you're talking about. He was like, it's the entrance exam to get into med school. He was like, you're not pre-med? And I'm like, how do you become pre-med? And he was like, he just was like, you just, you know, decide you're going to take the MCAT. And I was like, oh, I just found out about it. So I don't know. But yeah, it didn't pan out anyway. And I ended up getting an English degree. And then over the years, I've just forgotten everything that, I forgot everything I was taught in all those science classes. And then I pretty much forgot also all the stuff I studied in my English courses. You know, all the books and short stories and fucking essays and shit I read and all the things they taught us about writing. I remember going to class and enjoying it, but I don't remember any of like what they taught us about writing and reading and all that. I just remember you know I don't know. I remember taking a test on Hamlet, or no, I wrote a paper. I remember being assigned a paper that I had to write about. I had to pick a section of Hamlet and write a paper on it. So I do remember doing that, and I got a C. That was a tough class. That was a literary analysis with Dr. Joins. That's probably the one I remember the most because he was such a fucking dickhead, and it was like a difficult class. But I remember enjoying the stuff we read in there because it was only like three things, and it was like this like extensive, like comprehensive dissection of them where we really going going in deep on the material. So that's why it was only three different things, and it was I think like the first part of the class it was like uh different like poetry. This is like a book of poems. It wasn't even like and it was like I didn't even understand how I was supposed to write the papers on that because it was like, well, shit, man, this poem's only fucking like 8 lines or stanzas. Is that what they're called? It's just like this thing only takes up like half a page. You telling me I got to write a fucking 3-page paper on a half-page poem? Like, what am I? How I don't understand how I'm supposed to do that, but I did it, and I got a C on that. And then the next thing was we read a book called White Noise by Don DeLillo, which was like my introduction to whatever postmodern literature is. So there's like this in literature there's postmodern, which is whatever Don DeLillo's writing and Thomas Pynchon and David Foster Wallace and all these guys would be considered postmodern. Modern. I don't know how to define it or what exactly it means, but that book was my introduction to it, and I really enjoyed reading it. And that was like a good 300-400 page book, I think. And so I had to write like a 5 or 6 page paper on that. Got a C on that paper. And then the last thing we did was we read Hamlet, and then watched the Kenneth Branagh adaptation of it because that one is the full script. So it's like a 4 hour, 5 hour movie. And then I wrote a paper on one of the sections. It was like he was like, "You pick a section from the play and write a paper on that." I wrote a paper on that. I got a C, so I passed that class with a C, and and that and that professor was an asshole. I didn't enjoy listening to him talk or any of what we did in his lectures, but I did enjoy that one book that we read, White Noise. That was cool. And then from there, I sought out other like Don DeLillo books and like postmodern stuff. And so, there's a lot of it is pretty cool. Some of it's good. Some of it is like really painful and contrived. Like I don't know how to explain it because I don't even fucking know what it means. I still to this day am like it's like what was that one that thing that one judge who has that famous quote where they were trying to figure out obscenity laws or whatever, and he was like, I don't know how to define pornography, but I know it when I see it. Something like that, and it's like that's how I feel. Like if somebody mentions like postmodern literature, it's like, well, I don't know how to define it, but I'll know it if I'm reading it. Like if I'm reading a book, I'll be able to tell that it's postmodern. So I get all that to say though is like took me 6 years to get my bachelor's degree, and in that entire time, I probably spent like, I mean, a lot of it was paid for by wasn't even a scholarship; it was just a government thing. But all said and done, it did cost somebody over the course of 6 years. I would say like at least $40,000, and I don't remember shit. I don't even know where my college degree is, like the actual thing they gave me in the leather folder. I don't even know where it is right now, and no one's ever even asked to see it. I graduated, and I've applied for many jobs since then, and gone to interviews and gotten hired. At no point ever since then has anybody ever asked for me to prove that I actually went to college. You can probably just lie on your resume if you want. To whatever degree you want to have, you can just put down your resume. And I don't know if they have something going on in the background where they do check for that, but I've never been asked to produce that information for anybody. Let me see here. In fact, I think you pretty much have to lie on a resume. I don't see any way around that. I got one of my cousins. He's like, for whatever reason, I don't even think he's disabled or has any sort of disability really, but for whatever reason, he's like 25 now and he still has never had a job. And when I was visiting all my family recently, they were I didn't like the way they were approaching it. His mom and my aunts and everybody were kind of like confronting him about that, and were seemed like they were just harassing him about going out and getting a job actually. But then his mom was like, "I'm worried he won't even be able to get a job because of his he hasn't had one yet." And I'm like, "Yeah, he'll just lie on his resume. That's not even a big deal. Like, just write up a resume and lie about your work experience. The same as fucking everybody. It's what everybody does. So that shouldn't be an impediment at all. If he has to show work history, just make up some bullshit, put down like people you trust as references, and let them know ahead of time. Hey, you're going to be getting a phone call from Foot Locker, and just tell them I was a good employee. You know, I was like the fact that he hasn't worked ever shouldn't be a consideration because yeah, you just lie on your resume. It's the same. It's the same if you have like a long gap in employment. Is like yeah, just alter the time on your resume and just be like, my last job was 2 weeks ago. Actually, I just left. Um, or you're currently working. You just tell them like, yeah, no, I'm actually currently still with AT&T, but I'm pursuing other opportunities. And then you just tell them like, so if I do get hired, I'll need at least 2 weeks before I can start so that I can finish up. Because I want to be a good employee. The whole time you don't actually have a job and you just have to sit there twiddling your thumbs for a couple weeks, uh, while you pretend that you've put in your 2 weeks notice and are finishing up at your current job. That's the only. I mean, unfortunately, that's the only way you can really get ahead in this life is through lies and trickery. Um, but yeah, I feel like you could probably just put down any degree, like on a. I mean, don't get too crazy with it, but don't say you have like a fucking doctorate. But pretty much any bachelor of arts, you could put that down on a resume, and they probably are not going to get pressed on that. Um, $2 from Drew Huntley. Spoken word, all the small things. I'm broke. I guess I could finish up on that. Oh, I just farted. Um, so I'll do spoken word. Who sings that again? Oh, dude, I never liked this shit. I was never into the whole pop punk uh era. I always thought it just sounded like he had a stopped up nose. Um, all the small things true care truth brings. I'll take one lift, your ride, best trip. Always, I know you'll be at my show, watching, waiting, commiserating. Say it ain't so. I will not go. Turn the lights off. Carry me home. Na 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 na. Na 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 na. Na 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 na. Na 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 na. Late night, come home, work sucks, I know. She left me roses by the stairs. Surprises let me know she cares. Just say it ain't so. I will not go. Turn the lights off. Carry me home. Na 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 na. Na 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 na. Na 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 na. Na 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 na. Instrumental break. Say it ain't so. I will not go. Turn the lights off. Carry me home. Keep your head still. I'll be your thrill. The night will go on. My little windmill. Na 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 na. Say it ain't so. I will not go. Na 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 na. Turn the lights off. Carry me home. Na 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 na. Keep your head still. I'll be your thrill. Na 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 na. The night will go on. The night will go on. My little windmill. All right. Well, hey everybody, thanks for tuning in. Um, it's a bold new era here at the network. Big things coming to the network. I don't know if Saturdays are going to continue to be solo from now. You know what? I will. I guess I will be doing more solo stuff. It's a good skill to develop. So I appreciate y'all tuning in for this and sticking with me through this broadcast. And to all y'all that are watching after the fact, be sure to smash. Just everybody smash all the buttons, like, subscribe, leave a comment. Please help. Subscribe to the Patreon, patreon.com/cornfed with Dalton Pruitt, and buy some merchandise at bpnmart.com. Thanks again. I love you, and I'll see y'all next time.